strategic element for defense as well. Packaging, railways, tools, name it. I mean, it's steel is in principle everywhere. It's pervading really our society and our daily life. Resources. Steel is it can use many resources, but it can also provide many resources. It gives also support to the critical raw material needs through the circular economy. Critical raw materials, for example, are also nickel, manganese, and even coking coal. That is one of the fundamental elements that are used in the blast furnaces, though it is in the process of being replaced. But anyhow, various critical raw materials are also involved. However, in all among all the indicators, the most critical one is the environment because of the CO2 emission. And we have to remember that the steel industry is responsible for around 5% of the CO2 emission, and at least worldwide, and 7%, sorry, in the European Union, and 7% globally, 7% worldwide. So the impact is pretty much important, and we have really to tackle that, and we will do that through the research program based on the policies of the European Union, and we will now go slowly through that. So coal and steel are at the foundation of the European Union, and here we go back really to the Schuman Declaration of 1950, where really coal and steel were brought as a let's say an element of peace in Europe, to unify Europe after the Second World War. After this Schuman Declaration, which is here also reported, and you can read it, but in any case, it's really having coal and steel at its foundation to unify Europe on the basis of business, of commerce in the end. We go to the first treaty that was really the foundation treaty of the European Union. It paved really the way for the European Economic Community, and subsequently the European Union. But it also created really the European Coal and Steel Community. And this was really...
na ulicę, bo tutaj spora grupa godziny 9, nawet przed godziną 9 się zebrała, żeby
this
tutaj...
was
Alexandra, you are muted.
You're mute. Yeah.
You are muted, Alexandra.
You're muted, yeah. At the top right, usually. You have your microphone. Maybe I can do it. Just a moment.
okay, now it should
Okay,
work.
done. Yeah,
That's
yeah, it's
strange
working.
because I thought that I was not muted before something. I must have clicked. I'm sorry for that. I will quickly restart.
No worries. We'll yeah. So yeah.
I will quickly restart going, I think, from the beginning. So it was only a couple of slides, so it's not so much effort. In principle, what I was mentioning is that I will introduce you to the European Clean Steel Partnership, but also to mostly to the program, the research program under the Clean Steel Partnership that are Horizon Europe and the Research Fund for Coal and Steel. So let's start to look at the basics of steel and the indicators that are important for steel. Steel is very important for the European economy, first of all. There is a turnover of around 130 billion in Europe, and steel covers about 1.3% of the European GDP. It's pervading everything from automotive to construction, energy, also defense, even if defense is not part of the Clean Steel Partnership program, but defense is also a strategic element that is relying a lot on steel. Packaging, railways, tools, name it. I mean, the full society is pervaded by steel. Most importantly is also providing jobs. There are 306,000 direct jobs, 1.5 million indirect jobs, and more than 700,000 induced jobs from steel. So this is enormously important for the economy of Europe, but also mostly of Europe for us, but worldwide. Resources, let's look also in the critical raw material, because as much as steel is using resources, is also able to bring back resources through the circularity of the economy. Critical raw material involved in steel are also nickel, manganese, and even coking coal. That is one of the elements that is important for the blast furnaces. Though we are working, of course, on the path, on the way to reduce it and eliminating it. Environment. This is probably the critical point for steel because of the CO2 emission. The steel industry is responsible for about 5% of the CO2 emission in the EU and 7% globally. Now, let's go back to the origin of the European Union, so to the Schuman Declaration, which is the basic, in principle, of the story of steel for Europe. The Schuman Declaration of 1950 was bringing together coal and steel, and along with that was bringing together various countries in Europe, the first countries that were forming the first group of the European Union, on the basis of the commerce of the industry in principle. So they were unifying the commercial aspect to unify also Europe. And around that has been really the rising and the growing of Europe. And we go with the first treaty, which was the Treaty of Paris of 1951. That was a treaty that created the coal and steel community and was also putting the basis of the European Union. This treaty had the time frame up to 2002. Then in 2001, we entered into the Treaty of Nice. And with 2002, the treaty was also preparing for the end of the European coal and steel community. And so it was also creating the research fund for coal and steel. The research fund for coal and steel was then becoming officially active on the 1st of February of 2003. But it was bringing with it, of course, the remaining part of the coal and steel community, European coal and steel community, in the terms of assets. And these assets are those that are forming the funds, the money practically that are given for the coal and the funds for the coals that we are still doing nowadays. The research fund for coal and steel is funded via the revenues generated by the European coal and steel community assets in liquidation. And this means in a certain way, so what is happening today is in principle that these assets, in forms of financial assets mostly, they provide some interest annually, and these interests are used then to fund the coal under the RFCS at the moment. And we will see later on that there was a renovation also of the legal base that was guaranteeing a certain amount of funding on a yearly basis. By Council decision, the RFCS program relies on multi-annual technical guidelines for research. And that is also the reason why, especially for dedicated calls, we annually define the objectives of these dedicated calls. We have to go through Commission implementing decision to make them really active in a certain way, to make them adopted, so that we can then put them into the call that are going out annually, especially the big ticket call in this case. And each year, the revenue from the asset has been assigned to the funding of the RFCS in the general budget of the European Union. What is happening in principle is that the revenue of 1 year, so for example, the revenue of the year 2022 will be used in 2024. There is always n plus 2 years in between. So we received, for example, not very long ago, the budget for 2024 out of 2022. In 2022, there was, for example, a decrease in the interest rate because the interest rate were in principle going negative, so there was a loss. And in that case, when that happens, some of the assets are sold for covering the calls, for covering the amount of money for the calls. So this is more or less the system how it works. Then, of course, in the year in 2023, now the interest rates are much more positive, so we can expect a growth, much more a faster growth on terms of interest that will prepare the funding for 2025. Then, in addition to this budget under the European Union, there is, of course, this Commission implementing decisions that are done annually for defining the work program on the year N+1 in this case. So out of the money available in this year, we decide what will be the research objective for 2024. and we ask through inter-service consultation and then approval of the Commission interpreting decision that these objectives are then validated and can appear in the info pack of the call that you will see. So there is behind the info pack, there is quite a long story and a long procedures that has to happen before the call can be open, and you can apply and get the money and get the funding.
Alessandra, sorry, can
Yes?
you put, if it's not a problem, can you put in full screen so that we can see better the slides?
Yes, I am a disaster today, right?
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, but I really
No
didn't.
worries.
RFCS governance. So the Commission is managing the RFCS fund together with REA. REA is our research executive agency. The fund is assigned to RTD, and in principle, the chair of the RFCS is the director of the Directorate E under RTD. And this has been lately changed because of a reorganization internally to RTD. So it has been moving from Directorate C, where it was before, to Directorate E. And presently, the chair of the program is Peter Droll, that is the director of the Directorate E. Then the management of all this fund is assigned to the unit E3, where I work. So in principle, is assigned to us, and we have to manage the fund. There is a committee, which is the Coal and Steel Committee, the COSCO, and this is a program committee. Is in principle having the same role or a similar role to the program committee of Horizon Europe. And then there are advisories, committees, and technical group. There is a specific advisory committee for coal and one specific for steel. These advisory committees are composed by experts representing industrial producers and users, research centers, universities, and they advise the Commission on possible technical aspect, on also directing us towards what are the needs for the steel industry in respect to what can be also the future calls and what are the future focus for the next round of call. And then there is the technical group that have a more specific technical role, monitoring ongoing project and evaluating project results. They are also working in the frame, this technical group, especially the chair of the technical group, in the frame of the Clean Steel Partnership to help us doing the monitoring activities of the Clean Steel Partnership, because as you will see, the Clean Steel Partnership has two sources of funding. One is the RFCS, one is the Horizon Europe. So we need some kind of overarching vision of what is happening in the two programs to be able to have a complete vision of what are the needs and the gap in principle of the steel research. Now we go to the evolution that has happened in the RFCS in the last few years. I think this was published in 2019 or around that time. There was a 2018 probably. There is a 7-year RFCS monitoring report that happens in principle every 7 years, and it's going to happen again pretty soon, the next one. Out of this report, there was some recommendation coming out of it, and there are actually two reports, this one and then an auditor report. First of all, it was to maintain the budget at least 40 million for the annual call, and then to align the RFCS with the policy objective of the Commission. Of course, the Commission was changing. As you know, with the Green Deal, and this was in principle the time when the Green Deal was approaching, and the just transition happening also, there was the need also to refocus the fund in principle, so to refocus the priority of the fund. In addition to this, there was also this published in 2019, a review of the Court of Auditor that was highlighting again the fact that the budget allocated for the cause was getting to be extremely low. And to the point that the call, the last call of the RFCS before the review of the legal base was ending up to be in the range of 11 million. And this was extremely low. And this was also not only extremely low in terms of money, but extremely low enough to drift the community away from the call itself. So there was a little bit of discontent in the community because of this, and it was totally understood. So this was bringing to the revision of the legal base that happened in 2021. It was adopted in 2021 into 3 pieces of legislation that were updating the previous legal base. And they were bringing, in principle, the biggest achievement was that out of the review of the legal base, now there is 40 million yearly available for the annual call. And then we have introduced also dedicated calls, which are actually the big tickets, so the big ticket calls. The review of the legal base, so these are the 3 pieces of legislation. We have the 1094 for 2021, 1207 2021, and 1208 always from 2021. The first one is defining the alignment with the European Green Deal. So it's retouching a little bit the research objective of the RFCS. And is also associating the research, especially the dedicated calls, under the Clean Steel Partnership, so under the European Partnership. The second piece of the legislation is pooling resources over the period 21-27, to respond to new research needs, and also to create the funding also for the dedicated calls, so the funding for the big tickets. And the third one is ensuring that there is at least 40 million euro annually for the annual call, for the RFCS annual call. Now, what has been changing, here we focus especially on the steel part, in terms of changing the focus of the research, we had slightly changes in the Article 8, 9, and 10 for the steel, but mostly there was the appearance of the Article 10A, Management of Workforce and Working Condition, that is also looking to taking care of the working condition of the workers in the steel industry. And that is a relevant aspect also for us. Not only that, but we are also enormously focused at the moment to create the new set of skills for the European steel industry of the future. So also the skills have become much more relevant. Terms of funding. So here is what we have at the moment for funding for the at annual level for the RFCS. We have to remember that the RFCS is covering coal and steel. So first of all, let's remember that when we are talking about this 40 million of the annual coal, there is a specific percentage that is allocated to steel and a specific one to coal. For steel, we have 72.8% of the funding, and 27.2% is dedicated to coal. So at the moment, this discussion is dedicated in principle to steel, so we look into that. Out of the 40 millions of the annual coal, about 29 millions are dedicated exclusively to steel research, so to steel proposal and projects. Then we have 71 million annually that are dedicated to the big tickets call, which are large pilot and demonstration project, large dedicated really calls. These are specifically the calls, so the big ticket is specifically the call for which we define annually the research objectives for example, for 2023, we have defined the research objective for 2024. These are dedicated calls. And out of the 71 million, 52 million are dedicated to the clean steel. And they are actually, according to the legislation of 2021-1094, falling under the European Partnership. So now let's go into this European Partnership. So we have been speaking about that, and we know that some of the calls under the RFCS program are falling under the European Partnership. However, the RFCS annual call is not. That is remaining a bottom-up approach and is outside the frame of the partnership. So the Clean Steel Partnership has been created under the frame of Horizon Europe, and it has been created in 2021. Actually, the Memorandum of Understanding has been signed on the 9th of August of 2021, and is bringing together a private side represented by ESTEF, so the European Steel Technology Platform, and the public side represented by the GRTD and DG GROW. So DG GROW is also co-lead for us in the Clean Steel Partnership. There is a budget of about 700 million for the period 21-27 that are coming from the European Commission. And the challenge of this partnership is really to reduce, to tackle this energy-intensive industry, which is the steel industry, and reduce the emission that are coming from this industry, reduce them massively up to 95% by 2050. This role of the partnership, and this is really a huge conversation that there is between the private and the public side. For example, we just had a partnership board meeting right yesterday, where all the problems in respect to the call, in respect to the management of the partnership, in respect to what we are going to do in the future are on the table, and we discuss them together. Just happened yesterday. So one of the big problem is really to push in a certain way to call for breakthrough technological research in order to be able to achieve the goals of the Green Deal and the European policy by 2050. The governance of the partnership is happening, as I just said, through the partnership board, that is a forum for dialogue and steering to reach the objective of them setting the memorandum of understanding. You will find all these documents, by the way, also including the memorandum of understanding, they are published on the website of STEP. So this is all public documents. The partnership is also can create also a state representative group, which is in principle helping us to have the opinion of the member state and the supervision of the member state in principle on the national policies and national programs, in a way that we can also receive a feedback from the member state. So the work of the Commission with the member state is extremely important. It's extremely important to involve new stakeholders, to keep the partnership open and transparent, and as well as to understand what are the policies and what happens at state level, so that we can, in principle, merge the activities and create a much wider effect over Europe. And then we have this monitoring group. This monitoring group came into effect. It was created in principle in 2022 in terms of, let's say, rules and objectives, but it became active for the first time in June of 2023 with the first kickoff meeting. And this monitoring group, we had recently also another meeting in November, on the 16th of November, is extremely important and has an extremely useful role, because it's helping us to create the gap analysis, to look at the gaps that are evident in the research between what are the funded programs and the funded, in principle, the funded projects, and what is actually missing to achieve the goal of 2050, to the goal of the policy. So we are working pretty strongly with this monitoring group, and the discussion has been enormously positive in the last meeting, and it has allowed us to identify some elements that we can also then bring in the course of 2024, but even 2025, because some of the elements that it has been identified by the monitoring group in terms of gap will, for example, appear or are in the process of entering into the topics that are developed for Horizon Europe for 2025, and then later on 2026 and 2027. So this monitoring group has a very valuable role. It includes members of the technical group of the RFCS. It includes members of DGRTD, of DigiGrow, and also the agencies that are the executive agencies for the two programs, for Horizon Europe and RFCS, respectively, ADEA and REA, are also involved in this monitoring group. The objective of the Clean Steel Partnership are mentioned in the SRIA, which is the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. The present SRIA is, so the main objective is to reduce the CO2 emission by 2050 between 80 and 95%. And then there are specific objectives for 1 to 6. There are these 6 specific objectives that they go from enabling steel production through carbon direct avoidance, to look into carbon capture, developing also new technologies for smart carbon usage, looking into the recycling, the circular economy is extremely important, demonstrating also clean steel breakthrough technology contributed to climate neutral steel making. This means also DRI, for example, electrolysis, going towards, let's say, the CO2 neutral steel production. So even the hydrogen use is all involved under Objective 5. And then the objective 6 about strengthening the global competitiveness of the EU steel industry in line with the industrial strategy of Europe. The present SRIA that is available now at the moment, so is the one still from 2021. You can find it at the link that is shown over here. So just for your information, don't worry about the link because I will share the slide with Diego at the end of the presentation and you will receive the slide. So you will find all the information. However, we are going through an update of the SRIA, of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. This has been an update that started in the first quarter of 2023. So it has been going on almost now for a year. We had also on the 20th of October a meeting with the member state to discuss and consult them in respect to the changes that have been introduced. There is not fundamental big changes. There have been only some introduction of new element in principle. The third draft has been presented to the public in an event in Brussels, also in beginning of December, if I'm not wrong. And it has also been discussed and presented to the Partnership Board meeting yesterday on the 12th of December. However, very important for you now is that the public consultation for the SRIA is at the moment open. It opened on the 5th of December and is going to close on the 2nd of February. So in principle, you as stakeholders of the from the European steel industry have the possibility to voice your opinion on this SRIA or ask in principle to add some elements or to reconsider some other. You have the link over here for the public consultation. This is open. I would really like to invite you and remind you to really express your opinion and go to this website. The validation of the process, so once the public consultation is going to be finished, the SRIA will be revised again with the information coming from the public, and the final version will be available at the end of the first quarter of 2024. In principle, the idea out of the meeting yesterday is to approve the final version of the SRIA, of the updated SRIA, on the Clean Steel Partnership Board meeting that will happen on the 5th of March. So please remember to participate into this consultation. It's really very important also for you. So concerning the source of funding, we go back a moment to see what are the funding dedicated to the Clean Steel Partnership. We have 300, and these are funding for the period 21-27. We have 350 million out of Horizon Europe and 350 million out of the RFCS. I remind you again, the RFCS is including only the big tickets. So this 350 million is in principle coming from accounting of about 50 million per year for the big ticket over the 7 years of the project of the framework program. And there is 1 billion in private funding that is committed from the private side, meaning in this case from the industry, from the private participation, from the members of ESTEP, that is coming into, normally is highlighted to us into an additional activity plan that the Clean Steel Partnership presents on an annual basis. And this plan has to support and implement what is done, then what is achieved already through the project that the stakeholders are submitting. So it's a combination, it's really common work between private side, stakeholders, partnerships, so we are all together to try to achieve the goal of 2050. However, I was speaking so far about the Green Deal, but there is not only the Green Deal. And in recent years, we have now slowly other pieces of policy and legislation coming into place. And one of them is the REPowerEU. The REPowerEU is also influencing the steel industry because it's asking for 30% of EU primary steel production by 2030 to be based on renewable hydrogen. Hydrogen is a big deal at the moment in the steel industry, not only because it's going to guarantee the functioning of is in principle the focus of the next round of technologies that are coming up, but also because there are the missing infrastructure. So the steel industry is actually facing quite a dilemma in this respect because they want to go toward hydrogen, but at the same time, the quantity of hydrogen available and the infrastructure still have to grow. And this is really another huge work that the European Union has to face. Then we have the Net Zero Industry Act. This is a focus that will come up also in the big ticket in 2024, and especially because of the applications of steel. The Net Zero Industry Act addresses various renewable energies, as well as at the moment the modular nuclear reactor, so the nuclear is also mentioned in the Net Zero Industry Act. And all of these technologies in one way or another rely on steel. So we need to create also a steel market for these technologies and steel capabilities that are based in Europe. And then we have the Critical Raw Material Act. As mentioned before, manganese, nickel, silicon, as well as coking coal are mentioned in the Critical Raw Material Act. And steel is a user as well as a contributor to these materials. So it's enormously important to consider also the recovery of this material out of the circular economy approach in steel. Synergies with programs, with other programs, and also understanding now slowly how the different programs work together. So we have created in principle a pipeline of steel research programs that are pushing the idea from the basics to the level of the Innovation Fund. Here I am still naming in that respect a workshop that happened in February 2023, not because simply I forget the date as happened already before, but simply because I really would like you to remember that the recording is still available. And this was a workshop that was exactly done to create this pipeline. And it was done between SINEA, DG Clima, and DG RTD. DG Clima, as you know, is in charge of the Innovation Fund. And what we have done during this workshop was to bring to light again pilot and demonstration that were funded mostly under Horizon 2020, and that we consider that they could have been close to commercialization or ready for commercialization at this point in time. They were invited, and they were also there was a discussion with them, and they were also in a certain way pushed or directed towards the Innovation Fund. We have also to remember that the Innovation Funds, at least in this year, was a little bit better. There was also funding going to the steel industry. But in 2022, the steel industry in the Innovation Fund was totally missing. There was no award in the direction of the steel industry, which was really a pity. I know that the Innovation Fund, as much as I have also my discussion going on a regular basis with Clima, they are extremely open to the steel industry and extremely prone to accept funding, also project from the steel industry, and to consider them for funding. Of course, the Innovation Fund is very competitive, so the idea needs to be very well framed and very strongly framed. But our call from the DGRTD side, so RFCS annual call, Horizon Europe, and big tickets, are really creating the path and the pipeline to reach the Innovation Fund. With the RFCS annual call is a bottom-up call, more or less free approach, but we start from low TRL level, and that allows you, in principle, even if you have a totally new idea, to be able to propose it over there. There we have research type of project and pilot and demonstration type of project, as well as a company measure that are a little bit of more, let's say, I would say summary type of proposal or project where, for example, you can make a much more, for example, a policy overview about what was happening in Europe or among technological development or something like that. It's not specifically for technology development, but it's more like an umbrella overview of other activities that are happening in the steel industry. Then Horizon Europe is a pre-industrial research and is placed more or less in the middle level of the TRL, while the big ticket call are high level of TRL. So here we are looking into large pilot and demonstration up to TRL 8, so right the step before reaching the Innovation Fund. The research funds in 2021-2024. So this is the first 4 years of the Clean Steel Partnership, and here we see how much much has happened, or how much is going also to happen now in few slides. For Horizon Europe, in the first 4 years, so for the program of 21, 22, 23, and 24, there has been a dedicated amount of, in total, of 145 million available for steel. I would like also to remind you that we need participation in this call. So the topic of 2024, and now we will also see them together, are still open. They are gonna close at the beginning of February. So application is still suggested, and we are very happy to see more proposals coming into this call as well. At FCS, we have the big ticket for steel that happened for the first time in 2022, with a budget of 104 million. So now I have to remind you a little bit, because this can be a little bit confusing. Before, I was telling you that annually there is this 71 million available for the big ticket call, out of which about 50 millions, I think it's in the range, no, 52 millions more or less, are dedicated only to steel. Out of the legal base of 2021, the first call should have happened in 2021 for the big tickets. However, the approval and the adoption of the legal base was slightly late, but however was covering back on 2021. So the first call happened in principle in 2022, but was gathering the budget of 2021 and 2022. So this is why in 2022 we have 104 million, there was 104 million call. This was, however, having some problems because it was the first of a kind, and the application was not covering all the budget. The budget of the RFCS is not like Horizon Europe, meaning that when it's not fully used in 1 year, the budget is moved to the year after, it's not lost. On the other side, Horizon Europe, if the steel community doesn't use all the budget in a specific year, the budget is then divided among all the participants in Horizon Europe, and that is lost for the community. For the RFCS, is a different story. So whatever budget was not used in 2022 was then put on the call of 2023. So the call of 2023 was including the 52 million annual account plus whatever was left in 2022 to reach a total of 130 million for steel. Again, this money were not used fully. So now for 2024, we have in principle the idea to allocate only 100 millions and the rest of the money not used, because we will probably see that the steel industry is not able to absorb at the moment more than that. And the rest will be spread or will reach at the end of the 2027, when we will need to review the legal base and then think about what will be the next step of the RFCS. The annual call on the other side is standing on the 40 million annually, with the 29 million dedicated to steel, and this budget so far has been fully absorbed by the community. In respect also, before we go a little bit further, in respect to the Horizon Europe, here you can see that you have, in principle, the allocation of Horizon Europe in the middle tier level. As it was mentioned before, we started with a much higher level, problems with the community feedback, and then we allocated on the middle level, which much more happiness probably also from the member state point of view. RFCS call, I give you briefly an overview because I think I'm running slightly late, so I go through the annual call and the big ticket. Here you have side by side, so you can see the differences. The annual call in type of project covers a company measure, research project and pilot and demonstration. Pilot and demonstration are the focus on the other side of the big ticket call, column on the right. Funding rate, the company measure are funded 100%, the research project in the annual call 60%, and the pilot and demonstration 50%, also in the big ticket call. For the annual call 2023, we allocated, the budget was separated in this case. So there was a dedicated budget for each type of project. And for the company measure, we were expecting project in the range. So this is telling you more or less what we expect in terms of project level, between 300,000 and 500,000 euro for the company measure. For the research project, we were between 1 and 3 million. For the pilot and demonstration, between 3 and 5 million. For the big ticket on the other side, we expect more or less between 5 and 9, but we can also go up to 18 million per project. However, in both cases, we are flexible and we don't stick exactly to that amount. So if there is a proposal that is coming in that is worth it and it requires a larger amount of funding, we are happy to to consider that. So that is not a very strict amount of money. And this is in principle the same that happens also in Horizon Europe. Concerning criteria, TRL level for the annual call, and this is extremely important. The TRL level are very, very strict, or pretty much. So you can have a minimum amount of activities that goes in TRL different from what indicated by the call. But the majority of the work needs to be into this level of TRL. For the annual call research project, they go from, let's say, 0 up to TRL 4.5. For the pilot and demonstration, we start in the end at 4.5 and we go up to 7.8. And this is respected also in the big ticket call. For the duration of the project, here we see also slightly variation, of course, because the big ticket, they have a larger project, so larger in terms of money, but also in terms of content. So for the big ticket, we go up to 54 months. While for the annual call, we stay maximum 36 months for the accompany measure, and research and pilot, they go from 36 to 42. I would like you to note also this email address from REA. REA is the executive agencies that is implementing the call. And if you have specific questions to the implementation of the call, you can reach out to this email address, and they are normally pretty fast in responding. Concerning criteria for the consortium, for the pilot and demonstration project, in principle, we have 2 independent applicants from 2 different eligible countries in both annual call and big ticket. For the accompanying measure, we need a minimum of 3 independent applicants in 3 eligible countries, and RPJ is, so research project is a minimum of 3 independent applicants, but from 2 different eligible countries. The eligible countries are also available in the link that you have below. So there is all the EU member states, and for non-EU countries, there is a limitation. So the amount of, the number of countries that can apply to the RFCS call is slightly different than the countries that can apply to Horizon Europe. So keep that in mind. Allocation of research funds for 21-23. I really would like to bring this to your attention to tell you that these calls are not extremely subscribed. So we need really more contribution to this call. In Horizon Europe, we had so far 7 topics in the 3 years with 15 proposals funded, awarded. So some of the proposals for 2023 are still under award preparation. And the RFCS, we had 2 big tickets for still call. So the call has been 2 big tickets calls. And out of them, there was 5 proposals funded, out of which only 1 was in 2023. So the allocation, you can see that the allocation of EU funding for the big ticket in respect to the millions available is still extremely low, it's 31 million. And I really would like you to consider also application for the coming year. In terms of timeline for the course 22, 23, 24, so here you see a little bit of the history and what is coming. At the moment, I really would like to focus on the Horizon Europe call that is open now, that is going to close on the 7th of February. This is also very important. There are 2 topics. One of them is a portfolio topics, and now we are going to also review them. And then in February, beginning of February, the big ticket 2024 is going to open. The exact date should be, I think at the moment, set for the 2nd of February, but it's going to come out pretty soon. But it's really at the very beginning of February, ending probably beginning of May or end of April. But anyhow, that's more or less the timeline. So let's review quickly together the topics for Horizon Europe in 2024 that are now open. The topic 44, these are under cluster 4, is about digital transformation and ensuring a better use of industrial data, which can optimize steel supply chains. So here we have the possibility to apply with everything that is concerning digitalization, from sensors, data, modeling, traceability of materials, application of digital technologies and methods. So this is extremely important and is covering everything that is supposed to touch the digital transformation of the steel industry. We have available for this topic 10 millions, 3-5 millions per project. This is this is an innovation action with a funding available from the European side of 70%, so it's pretty good in principle, and TRL between 5 to 6, 7. Then we have the second topic, it's topic 46. This is a portfolio topic. This means that there are 2 technologies area under this topic, and you can...
Stop you for a second. It is 70% is for the industrial partners, right? In the call before.
This is an innovation action. Yes, this is also the funding rate is going to be 70%.
For industrial partners and for the universities and research institutes, it will be 100%, right?
Yes, exactly. So in Horizon, the funding goes in respect also from which type of institution. Yes.
Okay.
Then for the topic 46, this is a research and innovation action. So here the funding should be, as I know, 100%. So this is divided in 2 technology area. As I was saying before, this is a portfolio topic. So you can apply in one technology area or the other, not both. So apply in one or the other. They are also slightly different. The first technology area is looking into enhanced CO2 neutral steel production with hydrogen, secondary carbon carrier, and electricity. So here we go from electrolysis process using hydrogen also for heating and in rolling, shaping, and heat treatments. We can also look into the secondary carbon sources in steel making processes. So secondary carbon sources means also biochar, biocoal. Possibly every type of biosources of carbon is preferred. Combine the reduction of fossil-related, carbon-related emission with improvement in the materials and energy flow. This is also something that is important, but is also important for especially this has been asked by DG Clima, to identify and analyze the amount of European existing technologies that could be retrofitted to become CO2 neutral. So, for example, hydrogen DRI. So, how many existing technologies can be retrofitted with hydrogen, for example, for the use of hydrogen? Second technology area is to contribute to innovative steel application for low CO2 emissions. So here we are trying with this topic to create a market for the steel of the future, for the clean steel. And this is looking into modifying alloy concept, looking into targeting, for example, specific type of use, harsh environment. There is, for example, this example of the railway system, high-speed trains, they require specific type of steels. Steel graded that with increased use of low quality input material as well. So take a look at the specification of the call, but in principle, all the type of materials that can have a special application and then can use also different type of grade of input material. This is a type of, so this is area, this is more focus on research, and especially under the second technology area, also by request of the member state and also by, interconnected with the member state and with the research facilities around in the member state, the use of analytical infrastructure in European research facilities is suggested. And that means, for example, using of analytical infrastructure like synchrotron or Newton facilities. So keep that in mind as well for this second technology area. Here we have 20 million available, and TRL is not shown, but is in any case at the TRL slightly lower than the other one. So we are in the area of the research innovation action. Now let's go for the big tickets in 2024, because I would like to pre-announce you at least even if the Commission implementing decision is now at the final steps, is not yet adopted, but has been already going under inter-service consultation. The objective for 2024 has been defined and agreed with all the DGs, and it's going to be adopted now. Is in the phase of translation, because it has to be also translated in the various European languages, and it will be adopted. At the moment, we have a forecasting date for adoption on the 18th of January. And this is opening for the big ticket in 2024 with a budget of 100 million for steel. What is going to be available in 2024 in terms of objective, of the dedicated research objective for the coal? We have 6. So there is a slightly difference in from the call of 2023. In principle, the focus of the objective 2, 3, 5, and 6, you can still find it in the call of 2023. It's still the same, in principle, slightly readapted, but the same. We have introduced one new objective that is the first one, cross-cutting issue, digitalization, skills, and social innovation. This objective, number 1, is not going to be worked alone, but it's like an overarching type of objective. If you decide to work under this objective, the implementation of it has to happen in one of the other objectives between 2 and 6. So in principle, you want to apply digitalization, you want to focus on digitalization. You may focus on digitalization, for example, in connection with the CO2 neutral iron ore production. And in that case, you can also, for example, look at the skill development or some kind of social innovation, but it has to be applied, for example, in the number 2. This is just an example. It can be applied in number 3, 4, 5, or 6. With the big ticket, you have the possibility normally to choose up to 2 different objectives. Then the other new one is the number 4, advanced steel alloys for special applications. This is also looking similarly to what is happening now in Horizon Europe topic 46, second area, into the market for the steel industry. But here we have wanted to give more a focus to direct toward the technologies and the application in the technologies of the Net Zero Industry Act, as I was mentioning before. So keep that in mind. This is more or less what is going to come up in beginning of February on 2024. The big tickets are quite relevant and heavy calls to answer. So I would suggest you already to start brainstorming and preparing for that. Looking at the expected impact for the pilot and demonstration project of the big ticket call, pilot and demonstration activities should start at TRL 4-5 and are supposed to achieve 7-8. This is more or less the TRL area that we have been seeing also before. Proposals are expected to include an exploitation strategy outlining possible integration of the deliverables of the project in an industrial environment. And preliminary assessment of the economic viability is expected to be included. And why we do this? Because this has been somehow criticized in various cases, but remember that with this is with these calls, you are reaching the, in principle, the market level, because your next step is going to be the innovation fund. So this is, you reach a very high TRL level and you need to, so in principle, the Commission needs to make sure that you are prepared for the market. And this is extremely important from the research point of view. At least in many other cases and in many other countries, this type of economic variability or commercialization type of plan are requested even at much lower TRL level than a level like the big ticket score. And now we reach the end and what you should do. So in principle, what I always say to the stakeholder is be informed. Don't really limit to your usual path of communication, but enlarge, be informed. Remember that the Commission is not too far away. Keep in touch. I'm always very open to hear from stakeholders, to try to connect with them, to have opinions, to have also discussion with them. We are not really closed here in Brussels, far away from the community. If this is the impression, it's wrong. I mean, really, I'm since I started my work, and it's now 2 years, I have been trying a lot to connect with the community in every possible way. And that's also one of the reasons I'm here. And I still say, remember that we are available for discussion. Stay in contact also with your national contact point and member state representative, because webinars like today are extremely important and they can be of great help. I know that this type of activity happen in all the member states, so please keep in touch with them. And also make sure to participate in workshop and informative event organized by both the Commission, but as well as ADEA and REA. Probably I'm gonna run again another roundtable discussion for steel, probably at the end of June, and this is gonna be virtual. The link and the information will be spread through the member state as well, so probably it's gonna also reach you if you are in the network of your national contact point and member states. And that is all. And
Thank you very much.
Sorry for keeping a little bit longer.
No worries. It was really interesting, especially for me, the part on the big tickets that was not really aware on how they work and objectives. So it was really, really useful. So I would say that we run a little bit late, but let's have a couple of questions if people want to have some doubt or something to ask to Alessandra. You can raise your hand and switch on your camera and microphone.
In case, always be free to, my email address is on the presentation that will be shared, so you can always contact me or you can contact Diego, and then Diego will be forwarding your comments or your questions to me. So
I think there will be chances to reply this kind of event in the future, especially for the next call or maybe for the big tickets 2024. Maybe we can organize something in that sense.
Yes, and for the big ticket 24, then again probably will be informed, but REA is gonna also prepare Infoday, and the plan is to do it about 3 weeks after the opening of the big ticket, so that so that people can have in the meantime some brainstorming, and then they can have questions to bring.
So thank you very much, Alessandra.
Thank you, Diego.
I think there is no time for a coffee break so that we can try to finish on time. Let's start with the second session. So we decided to have like some success stories from the Clean Steel Partnership. We have 2 projects from Horizon Europe and 1 big ticket. So we will know more about these kind of calls as well. I would like to invite Jean-Christophe Pelletier from CRM Group, that is the coordinator of the CESAR project, Circular Enhancements by Low Quality Scrap Analysis and Refinement. I won't spend words on this project because it will be presented better by Jean-Christophe. So please, Jean-Christophe, take the floor and share your screen. You are muted.
Okay, I was on mute. I hope you see my screen now.
Yes.
And thank you, Diego, for introduction. Just a small correction. My name is Pierre, not Pelletier, but not important. So as you said, I will briefly present the CESAR project, so for security enhancement by low quality scrap analysis and refinement. So a project dealing basically with scrap. So this project is an Horizon Europe one, for which the main goal is to keep the steelmaking sector competitive at global level, and in the same time allowing the transition to a climate neutral industry. So for that, clearly we need to reduce drastically CO2 emission, and one quite easy way to reduce the CO2 emission when producing steel is to produce it from metal than from iron ores. Roughly, it would consume 4 times less energy and produce 4 times less CO2. And so that means mainly using electric arc furnace instead of a blast furnace. When we are talking about scrap, there are mainly 2 categories of scrap. Let's say there are the so-called pre-consumer scrap, which are the high-grade one, well identified, quite clean, not mixed with any other material. And this high-grade scrap represents roughly 45% of the available one. And the rest, so the larger part, is the called post-consumer ones, which are much more heterogeneous, mixed usually with inert material, what is not such a problem. It's a bit a pity because you lose energy to melt inert material, and you are buying dust instead of metal. But what is more problematic is that it could be mixed with other metal, such as copper wires or any stainless or something else, that will impact the quality of the steel which is produced when remelting everything together. And the very bad point is that the current trend is to the decrease of the proportion of pre-consumer or an increase of the post-consumer. In fact, the global availability of scrap is increasing quite a lot, but the quantity of high-quality one is constant, so it's more and more diluted in the post-consumer scrap. So this project, which is aiming to allow the usage of the low quality scrap, clearly deal with the circular economy pathway, as the one defined in the Clean Steel Partnership. You have the smart carbon usage, the carbon direct governance, and circular economy. So we are clearly in circular economy, and it's dealing with several building blocks defined in the Clean Steel Partnership. So the circular economy solution, raw materials, clearly energy, we're using less energy to produce steel, but also enables some production adjustment. So a bit more in detail, the objective of the project. As said, the goal is to identify the opportunity to use and reuse this low quality scrap by better comprehension of the scrap market, first of all, to define what is leaving EU. There are roughly 20 million tons of scrap that are exported from Europe. That's a bit a pity because we are missing scrap to produce steel in Europe. So we try to understand why these scrap are leaving Europe. What are the features on how to nevertheless use them? And so to apply advanced characterization, sorting, and cleaning technologies to allow usage of a post-consumer into the European steelmaking. And of course, the goal is to support production of steel ATF, of high-quality steel ATF, which is usually devoted to the production of lower quality long product. But in the future, we should produce flat product at the EF, so we need to have good scrap for that, and also to increase the scrap rate at the converter. Again, if you have too much low quality scrap at converter, you may have problems. And it's a quite high TRL project, so the goal is at the end of the day to have industrial demonstration of the technologies developed. So it's a 4-year project starting roughly 1.5 years ago. So we are now at the end of the first reporting period. The total budget is 8 million euros with a grant of roughly 6.3 million. So in this presentation, I try to explain a bit the process of the preparation of the proposal, transition to the grant agreement, and the different issue question that we had during these steps. So maybe it could sound like a list of complaints, but it's not the goal, but more to be a sort of a return of experience of how we process to prepare this project. So at the proposal preparation step, we were supported by a subcontractor specialized in the preparation of such a proposal. In our case, it was Wavestone, which was selected based on several price offers. So the support of such specialized company was seen as necessary by all the partners of the consortium, because it's not only a question of writing technical content, there is also the need to write it in a certain way and to have the good language, let's say, to show that the activities foreseen are in line of the expectation of the granting authorities. So yeah, the cost of this subcontractor was taken care by the industrial partners based on their respective budget. And the goal was to continue to work with the subcontractor in the execution phase. It wasn't that easy, in fact, but it was requested by all the partners. So yeah, the goal was to continue to have the strategic and operational guidance during the management phase of the project. Anyway, after acceptation of the proposal and during the preparation of the grant agreement, the financial officer emitted some reserves about the selection procedure of the subcontractor. What is fully understandable. We decided before the grant agreement, so the procedure was quite obscure for the financial officer. Also, there was some concern about the role of this subcontractor. So as the time between acceptation and preparation of grant agreement was quite short, we didn't have time to provide good price comparison and offer comparison to fully justify the choice of the subcontractor we wanted to work with. So we just removed the subcontractor from the grant agreement. Anyway, the goal was still to have support, and so to have this company re-entering into the consortium thanks to an amendment. So we request offer to several specialized companies. So there were 4. So here you see one detail, but what was asked to these companies as a support to help us during execution of the project. It was mainly assistance to the administrative task, some support, how to remind us deadlines, to act as an help desk to also to remind what is acceptable in terms of cost or not, to prepare a format of document and so on. So really quite, let's say, basic administrative support, but it's what is high time consuming and that we would have liked to be rid of. Of course, there is a list of activities that cannot be subcontracted, so it was clearly written in the offer request that all of these activities wouldn't be subcontracted in any cases. But anyway, after this procedure, when we finally choose one consultant to support us, we proposed the amendments, and it was anyway rejected. Yeah, so finally we had to proceed to the execution of the project without this expected guidance. What is in a certain way a bit a pity, because we had to spend more time than expected of the administrative task when it's not the expertise of the, let's say, technical partners. So that was one of the 2 adjustments we wanted to do on the grant agreement. The second one was about the consortium itself. In fact, there was one partner in the project proposal, which was part, but not as involved, let's say, as expected. It was really hard to get answer from these partners. So again, after the acceptance of the proposal, but before finalization of the grant agreement, in common agreement with this partner and also with the project officer of the project, we decided that this partner would left the consortium because they didn't be able to provide the resources needed to the project. So the activities have been really allocated to the other partners, together with the budget, of course. Anyway, yeah, some skills were not as strong as before. So we took contact with another company, which has quite similar skill, at minimum in the one we need the most. So for some activities, they were kept in hand of other partners, but the main activities of the former one was transferred or requested to be transferred to a new one. So we write an amendment for that, which has been accepted a few weeks ago. So that's quite a good point and a strong point that there is some flexibility allowing to solve issue like that when you have a partner which is not that involved in the project. You still have the possibility to modify the consortium even after decision about the proposal acceptance. Anyway, yeah, the complete process to get the amendment accepted, it took almost 1 year, what is really really long. And during all that time, the new partner has worked, but without being sure to be paid for the work they did. So just at the end of the day, we end with this consortium. So with a very strong involvement of ArcelorMittal, which is a major player in the steelmaking industry, of course. They have 3 plants involved in the project. So the EF plant of Sestao and the blast furnace plant of Ghent and Dunkirk. Also 3 research centers, the one of Mézières in France, Basque Country in Spain, and Esch in Luxembourg. Then there is, of course, CRM, which is a research center, Foundation in Natech, which is the research center of Heidesa, a large metal recycling company in Spain, and JU Leuven as university. We have a second metal recycling company, which is Roland Fer, but again to ArcelorMittal again, and 2 technology developers, so Asterland and Tomra, which is the new partner entering to replace the old one. Yeah, and also here you could see the work program of the project. So beyond the 2 classical project management and dissemination work packages, we have 5 technical work package. One dealing with the mapping of characterization of the scrap markets and the characterization of the raw scrap that could be recovered on that market, and which are usually exported. Then we have a work package about cleaning of a scrap to remove residuals and impurity. A work package dealing with characterization and sorting of scrap. So these both work package are feeding a 4th one about valorization of residues, as we also need to limit as much as possible the production of residues. And at the end, as said, it's a ITR project, so we aim an industrial validation of the technology developed in the frame of CISA. And in terms of timeline, as said, we are now 1 year and a half roughly. So work package 2 is done. So we have finalized the analysis of the scrap market, the review of characterization method of scrap was done as well, and the characterization of large size sample of low quality scrap that have been bought on the market has been done as well. So now we know, let's say, what are the material we want to reuse, and now we are working on the other work package to define how to improve as well as possible their quality, or to characterize them, on how to use them into the steel making industry. So beyond that, I have quite a long list of a slide explaining the technical activity of the project, but maybe it's not really important to pass through to make them available if you want. But I think I could end here for this presentation to avoid taking too much time.
Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. It was really interesting. I think if you can stay until the end, so we can have like a
Sure.
session of question and answer for the project coordinators. And so now I want to give the floor to the second project, that is HiELD. I want to invite to share his presentation the coordinator of the project, Björn Glaser, that is from the KTH Florida Institute of Technology. So please, Björn, take the floor. The floor is yours. Please.
I will. Thank you very much, Jaco. I will try to speed up a little bit so to recover some time, but let's see. I hope you can see the slides. So now I just must be able to switch the slides. Yeah. So
yes, it's working.
So as Jaco said already, I'm the coordinator of the HiELD project, and I coming from KTH in Stockholm. My name is Björn Glaser. And the HiELD project is about highly efficient technologies for increased yields in steelmaking processes and reduced environmental impact. And this project was funded within the Twin Transition call from Horizon in 2021. The call was about improvement of the yield of iron and steelmaking, and it's an AI innovation action call. And I think it's one of the first projects which was actually funded within the Clean Steel Partnership. So what is the aim of the HiELD is to promote circular economy by progressively increasing the scrap uptake in 3 demo cases that represent the current European steelmaking routes, with the ambition to deliver solutions for relevance to all steel makers. So the project duration time is 3 years. The project has been starting last year in 2022, the 1st of July, and will be ending last of June in 2025. So what is the consortium? So we have a well-distributed consortium within Europe. We have Sweden involved, we have Germany involved, we have Austria involved, Italy involved, and Greece involved. So this is one of the key points also of success of having a good proposal is that the well distribution within Europe, so that enough European partners are involved. I think the requirement, if I remember right, is 3 European countries have been involved in at least three different countries have been involved. So we, as I mentioned in the beginning already, we work in different demo cases. So there will be demo case 1, which is contributing 3 partners. There will be demo case 2, where we having a steelmaking partner and a supplier inside, and then we have demo case 3, where we have a supplier, a steelmaking company, and also a university inside. So I will go a little bit more in detail here in the demo cases. What are the demo cases? So we have them here distributed under demo cases, where the first demo case is the increase the uptake of the post-consumer scrap in the ERF. The second demo case is about increase the uptake of pre-consumer scraps in the LD. And demo case 3 is about enable steelmaking for increased scrap uptake, maintaining steel and product quality in the ERF and AOD. So we also have specified the different results within the demo cases. For the first demo case is maximize scrap quality, optimal technologies for impurity removal, optimal use of allying elements. For the second demo case is optimize scrap use, scrap classification, scrap tracking in circular economy. And for the third demo case is maximize product quality with scrap update, charge optimization, ensure product quality. So I will only mention here as last the methods. So in the first demo case, we will work with deep learning based computer vision for scrap identification and control. In the second one, we will use a digital scrap information code for scrap tracking. And in the last demo case, we will work with high-speed sampling and analysis to avoid waiting times for steel analysis. So that should be all now about the project objectives and the demo cases. But I have also put in here the bird chart, which we have to prepare when we applied the proposal. So here you can see how everything is connected, how the work packages, the tasks are connected. And so it gives a very good overview how the proposal, the project is carried out in which different steps. As also my colleague mentioned in the project he presented before in the CSAR project, it's very important that we have a proper management within this projects. So as you can see, I drew a red line where we are now. We are now on month 18, which means we reached exactly half time of the project by the end of December, and we have carried out approximately 50% of the work which we are supposed to do or we are proposed to do. We have reached almost all deliverables on time, so we don't have any delays in the project. So this is very important when you're setting up the project or when you apply with the proposal that you have the timelines are well adjusted, so it's manageable and you don't reach too much delays within the project. But of course, I mean, you're depending also on suppliers, which can be a big issue sometimes. So what did we achieve so far is we have submitted a couple of deliverables, as you can here see as an overview. We have prepared a technical watch report. We have submitted a deliverable describing the database of suitable scrap types as processed feedstock. Another deliverable about report on defined scenarios and improvements. One on report on the implementation of the infrastructure, a demo plane, software and algorithm for scrap identification development. And of course, what is also important is the plan for communication, dissemination, exploitation activities, and the data management plan. And we also overcome two milestones. First, scenarios defined within the demo cases and infrastructure prepared for the implementation later on in the industry, so we can implement the things which we have developed within the demo cases, so we can implement that in the steel industry. Okay. So as I was requested also to give a few hints about the different steps, how to prepare a proposal, I have prepared 2 slides following up here, but here is also a slide showing our web page. So we have a web page within the KDH domain, where we promoting the high yield project, where we also put up the updates on it, what is important, what is going on, what are the events, workshops, project meetings, and so on. So if you're interested about the project and you would like to know a little bit more, you can find more information here on the web page for the high yield project. And I mentioned already before, KDH is the coordinator here. I'm the main contact person. So you're very welcome to contact me if you need more information or would like to have a little bit more insight to the high yield project. So now coming to a few steps and hints. when it comes to proposal preparation within Clean Steel Partnership. And one question I have been asked before was also if it's important for these calls to be a STEP member. I have to say, when we applied the project, the high-yield project, we have not been a member of the STEP, and we still have been successful in achieving basically get the proposal funded. So I would say from this point, I would say it's probably not required to be a member of the STEP, but I can see, since we are now a member of the STEP, I can see that it has a lot of advantages. Many different topics are discussed within the meetings. The calls are discussed. Also, what STEP or Clean Steel Partnership is aiming for are discussed. So I would say, from my point of view today, I would say yes, it could be an advantage to be a member of the STEP. And another advantage, of course, is that you get you have a lot of more contacts within the STEP community. It's easier to find partners for a project, for a proposal. So there are definitely advantages to be a STEP member. It's an advantage, but probably not a requirement to be successful within one of these calls. When thinking about a proposal call, then I think for me there are always two different objectives or opportunities. Either we look for a call and having an existing project ID, or we having a call where we developing a project ID. I think I have tried in the past to put in an existing project ID into a call or finding a right call for it. And I have to say that this is more difficult actually than the other way around. I think to develop a good project ID for an upcoming call, which you know what are the objectives, is in my opinion easier than the other way around. But this is my personal opinion. So everybody has to decide on themselves what is the best here. But just giving you that hint that it can be difficult to fit an existing project ID into an upcoming call, basically. In the second step, I think what is very important is to identification of suitable consortium partners. And I mentioned already that the distribution within Europe is very important. So it should be well distributed. There should be at least 3 European countries involved. We should not forget that we also having the possibility to involve countries from outside Europe. So there are certain countries which are still able to participate. I'm not quite sure how the financing works. I think they are usually financed not from the European Commission. They are financed from their local financing organization. But this can be described or can be asked by the European Commission, and maybe Alexandra knows possibly much more than I do about this. What I also think is very important, it depends a little bit if you have a RIA call or EA call, that you have a good balance between the industry and the research partners. So there should be sufficient industrial partners as well as R&D partners they can carry out the work. We talked, Alexandra talked a little bit about the different funding rates. Of course, when you want to get an industrial partner into the proposal, they also look for 100% funding. If they only receiving 60% funding, sometimes it can be difficult, sometimes it's not. So this is, but this is, of course, the funding rate is always a discussion point. And one thing I like to mention here is as well that even it says 100% funding for research institutes and universities, the European Commission for the Horizon calls only covers 25% overhead, which still means you have to co-fund the proposals, even you get 100% funding from the European Commission. Another point I think which is important is how many partners shall be in the consortium. Bigger consortiums are much more difficult to manage, and also to keep control over the consortium, make all partners stay in the consortium until you submitting the proposal. So there is a high possibility also that partners dropping out short before proposal submission. So that is, I think, more difficult when you have a large consortium. And of course, with large consortium, it's also a lot more coordination work. So that is usually a disadvantage. But of course, large consortium have a higher impact probably than small consortium, or can have a higher impact here. I mentioned make the partner stay in the proposal. So I had several proposals already where 3 days before proposal submission, mainly industrial partners jumping out because the philosophy within the industrial partners has changed. So this is also something you should always keep in mind and keep an eye on it. And I would also suggest that from my experience, it's good to have at least 2/3 of the partners which having experience with Horizon projects and proposals in the consortium, and only up to 1/3 new partners, because that makes it easier to write the proposal when the partners know what to do, and also later on to carry out actually the work in the projects when you are having a successful proposal. Proposal project coordination, who is coordinating? It's always a very important question to ask. So that is, from my experience, industrial partners don't like to coordinate. It's mainly coming back to the universities and research institutes here. And that comes also back to if you're having a large consortium or a small consortium. I think my colleague before already said something about proposal writing supporting companies. I also have the opinion that it's almost impossible to write these proposals without support. But there it has to be, you have to identify what is a suitable company. And also, of course, I mean, there are additional costs involved, which can be quite high for such companies, I have to say. So this is always a balance, how much additional money you would put in order to be successful. Proposal preparation, I think in my experience, everything comes back to the coordinator, how the proposal is coordinated. I have seen good examples here, I've seen bad examples, but it's very important that it's good coordinated in order to be successful, and also to distribute the workload of the coordination of the proposal within the partners. From my experience, industrial partners are very limited on contribution capabilities. So this is also something which should be taken in mind. Two other issues, Alexandra mentioned already here something. Project start is approximately 1 year after proposal submission. There are many things can change within 1 year. Partners are maybe not be interested to stay in the proposal anymore, or companies getting bankrupt in between. So sometimes you ending up, you get the proposal funded, but then 1 or 2 of the partners may be dropping out or having other plans. So this it's also something which is not nice, but it's happened very, very often, I have to say. And the project duration time was mentioned as well here. For me personal, coming from universities, 4 years projects are more suitable, because I have a PhD students, I can have PhD students on it, they can finish within the project, and yeah, something to consider at least. Thank you very much. That was my last slide. I hope it gave you some valuable insights here.
Thank you very much, Björn. So it was really interesting, and we go now towards the end of the talks, at least. Then we will have some few minutes for discussion if there are questions. But now I want to give the floor to Matteo Gilli from Rene Consulting, that is the coordinator of Modiplant. So he will introduce us. We had 2 Horizon Europe project until now, and now we have RFCS ticket. So please,
Yes.
Matteo, take the floor.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So can you see?
We see yes.
Okay. Okay. So we can start. Good morning to everyone. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Matteo Gile and I work in RINA Centro Sviluppo Materiali, and I'm coordinator of multi-plant project, as Diego said. I want first to thank you for the opportunity to be here to present the project. That is one of the winning projects that participated in the RFCS Big Tickets 2022 call. Okay, let's take a look at the table of contents briefly. I'll begin with the brief description of the call. Then proceed to the next slide for an overview of the project. Following that, we'll delve into the activities and achievements, provide a brief explanation of the expected outcomes of the project, and shift the focus on to the background, call and partnership establishment, as well as excellence, impact, and quality. And finally, I will conclude by summarizing some key concepts. Okay, let's start. Let's start with the details of the call. As Alessandra said before, the acronym RFCS stands for the Research Fund for Coal and Steel. This call was launched in accordance with the 2022 work program and is managed by the European Research Executive Agency. And the general aim of the call is to provide support for the transition towards a climate neutral union economy by 2050. Specifically, the focus is on the development and demonstration of innovative breakthrough technologies for clean steel production, aiming to achieve carbon neutrality within the steel sector. As you can see in this slide, the TRL starting point considered is in the range 4.6, and the final TRL is 7.8. So ModiPlant focuses on the following objectives, which are detailed in this slide, related to process integration in steel plants to decrease the reliance of fossil carbon and mitigate associated CO2 emissions. Specifically, this involves implementing new processes for transferring it to semi-finished products, using unconventional energy sources, that is electricity in our case, and the introduction of new or adapted digital tools for advanced continuous monitoring, process optimization, or integrated control emissions and energy flows. That are all parts of the activities planned in this project. I remembered, as you can see, that the objective, the target for 2030 is to obtain a reduction in CO2 emissions of more than 40% compared with reference operation at TRL 6. And the total budget that was available for this call was of 104 million euros. A briefly overview of the project. ModiPlant stands for Modular Hybrid Technology in the Steel Plant Production, and the project specifically concentrates on the decarbonization of reheating furnaces through the implementation of hybrid heating technologies, which involve a strategic combination of electrification and gas burning. The electrification efforts in this project will be directed towards the treatment lines for coils and billets. So the partnership, as you can see in the map, is composed by RINA Centro Sviluppo Materiali, that is, as I said before, the project coordinator, and then we have 5 more partners, 3 industrial partners, Marcegaglia, Feralpi Siderurgica, that are located in Italy, and Feralpi ESF, that is in Germany. One university, the University of Freiburg, that is also in Germany, and one Institute of Technology that is in Poland, that is the Łukasiewicz Upper Silesian Institute of Technology. As is known, heating systems in the steel sector are based on methane burners, mainly, that have a high direct impact on CO2 emissions. At the same time, induction heating is characterized by TRL9 with very high efficiency, and other alternative heating systems are applied only in research projects. So as a consequence, these technologies can lead to high density power, and it is important to investigate, and it will be important to investigate these aspects from an industrial point of view. Another advantage that electrification can bring is related to the potential use of renewable energy sources, which can bring to a higher process sustainability. Multi-plant project, as you can see at the bottom of this slide, started in March 2023, and the first preliminary activities have been carried out, such as the steel grade selection, the choice of the material that will be tested in the following project steps, the setup of laboratories for the material characterization, and the setup of pilot trials that will permit to test different process conditions. The project involves the realization of 2 demo sites in the industrial partner site, with the support of the other partners in the design phase and the optimization phase after the trials, with a common objective of increasing the use of electrical energy to reduce the natural gas consumption. Specifically, Marcegaglia and Feralpi will install the 2 hybrid heating systems, respectively in one of the hot dip coating line and in one of the rolling mill plant that they have. So we can have a look at the expected outcomes of the project. So at first we have a CO2 savings in the range 60–80% in hot dip metal coating process through the use of induction furnace. And then we have the fossil fuel consumption reduction that is in the range 60–100% in rolling mills process through the use of the alternative billet heating that I mentioned before. The introduction of new operative practices specifically designed for electrical heating, the construction of a business case for fuel electrification of targeted processes. And finally, we have the digitalization of production with focus on energy supply sources. In the next 2 slides, I summarized some key points about the background of the project. At first, I focused the attention on the call and partnership establishment. The objectives and goals foreseen in the call were focused on and are focused on the reduction of fuel consumption and electrification to reach a relevant impact on CO2 emissions, with a key role, obviously, for the activities of process optimization. How we discovered the big ticket opportunity. It is a crucial point, the first point, because the efforts that our business unit dedicate to founded research and study of coals is very, very important. So the second point is related to the information that we can we can take on the RFCS official website, and the experience that RINA Centro Sviluppo Materiali and its partners have in the European for coal and steel community, and the relationship with other European Union level bodies such as ESTAP and Eurofer. How we formed the project consortium. Previous and consolidated partnership with industrial companies on various activities and themes, knowledge of needs and strategies of industrial partners, the match of the needs of companies with the requests of the call, and the inclusion of other competencies such as research centers and academia. Okay, in this slide, I wanted to summarize some key points that we followed to prepare the ModiPlan proposal. The first key point is to follow the guidelines that the European Commission suggests. And working in synergy with partners to establish the objectives of the proposal is a key aspect also, and sharing methodologies, resources, and competencies. We have also to focus on the most influent key points that characterize the call, and a fundamental point is to keep attention to the added value that the proposal has. And finally, an important key point is to build a solid budget. To conclude, we have seen the main general objective of the RFCS big ticket call, the role of ModiPlan project to introduce innovative technologies, reducing also the environmental impact for the steel sector, allowing the utilization of renewable energy sources by electrification processes. And in the end, I summarized some key points for the utilized approach in the proposal writing phase. So thank you, and I'm here for any question.
Thank you very much, Matteo. It was nice to see a presentation from a big ticket project that are, let's say, a little bit different from the Horizon Europe that we listened before. So we have a few minutes. So if there is any question to Jean-Christophe, Matteo, or Bjorn, please raise your hand, switch on your camera, microphone, or whatever you want to make questions. They are available to answer. You can either write your question in the chat. We will read it as you prefer. I check the chat if anyone is writing. It doesn't seem. So I think we can close the event 2 minutes in advance. So thank you very much to be on time with your presentation, to all of you. I think this event was quite useful for everyone. The presentation for Alessandra was really comprehensive and updated to the new objectives of the clean steel projects, and with some hint to the new calls. So let's wait for other updates about the coming tickets. We have the Horizon deadlines on the 9th of February, as you know. I want to thank all the coordinators for the contribution, and goodbye and have a nice day. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Diego. Bye bye.
Bye, Chico.
Thank you, Björn.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Davidas.